the starting running back position for the Denver Broncos. Now, Sean Payton has already kind of alluded to the fact that it's most likely going to be JK Dobbins, right? Because he made this statement that the starting running back would not play in the last two preseason games. And RJ Harvey and Jaleel McLaughlin both played in the second preseason game. And so you kind of have to look at that and say, okay, it must be JK Dobbins. Now, there is a caveat to this, and a reason why I still think it's not 100% decided is the fact that JK Dobbins, he's not older, but he's had two very serious injuries. He's had an ACL injury and he's had an Achilles injury. Now, last year was his most healthy year for the Chargers last year after a 3-year stint in Baltimore. He played in 13 games and had 905 yards rushing and 9 touchdowns for the Chargers last year. Again, he's only 26 years old, so there is hope for him. And there's evidence and there's examples of other players being able to overcome major injuries like this. The main name that comes to mind, and again, this guy might just be a freak of nature, but I think J.K. Dobbins is also sort of a freak of nature in my opinion. But I think of Thomas Davis, who came back from, I think, 3 ACL surgeries. I think he tore one ACL twice and one ACL once, from what I can remember. But again, J.K. Dobbins still has the ability to be an impact player for the Broncos. Again, his biggest issue is the fact that he hasn't been able to stay healthy any seasons in his career besides his rookie season. His rookie season was his second best season. He had 805 yards, but he played in 15 games. Again, last year he played in 13. So again, he's hopefully trending up, and me personally, I hope he's healthy enough to earn that spot. But you also have to think about the fact that the Broncos did draft a running back in the draft this year, right? RJ Harvey was drafted in the second round this year, and he played his career at UCF, which isn't necessarily a powerhouse football team. They have a good program, in my opinion. He had almost 1,600 yards, and he had 22 touchdowns in his senior season for UCF. Now, again, not the toughest competition that he's playing up against. Investing a second-round pick in a running back nowadays says that you really value them and you see them to be your future running back. Now, again, does that mean he's going to be the starter right away? I don't think so. But it does show that they think that he could be the future running back of this team. Because to me, they did give Dobbins, I would say, a somewhat decent contract. I think he's making him somewhere around $4.2 million a year for the Broncos, which is pretty solid for a running back nowadays, especially one that's had the amount of injuries that he's had. So, again, I'm looking at this. RJ Harvey, has he had the opportunity to prove himself so far in the preseason? He's had some at-bats. He's had 10 carries for 43 yards and a touchdown, right? So he's at 4.3 yards a carry. That's not necessarily earth-shattering, but at the same time, it shows that he's pretty solid. If you run 3 times for 4 yards, you're going to get a first down every single time. He is showing that he can move the ball for them. To me, the fact that they played him in that second preseason game after what Sean Payton says to me that they're going to give RJ Harvey a little bit more time before they throw him into the fire. And the last running back that's really in this competition is Jaleel McLaughlin. Now, Jaleel McLaughlin was an undrafted running back out of Youngstown State 3 years ago, and I remember when he came out, everyone was really excited about him. I remember almost even after the draft, like everyone was talking about Jaleel McLaughlin. I think he's really been sort of what I would call a game breaker, right? That's what he was most known for, is being a speedster and being able to impact the game from like a big play perspective. Now, in his first 2 seasons, he hasn't been able to break 500 yards, right? He is averaging 4.8 yards a carry, but at the same time, he's only had a total of 33 carries, 496. And to me, when you draft a running back and then you also pick one up in free agency, like a J.K. Dobbins, there's something about them that they're not confident in. I couldn't tell you necessarily what it is. Again, he is a little bit of a smaller running back, and maybe that's what it is, right? He's 5'7", 187 pounds, right? So maybe that's an aspect of this. But he's younger. He's entering his third season. They didn't have to necessarily invest a lot in order to keep him or to get him. And so why invest that much into someone else when, as the Broncos team, they are a playoff team. And I expect to see JK Dobbins as the starter. Is he going to be on a short leash? I think he might be. I also think he's probably just competing against himself when it comes to injuries. That's probably his biggest issue. RJ Harvey will probably be that number 2 and competing for that starting position.
That's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, comment, tell me your takes. This is Bad Takes from Bad Takes in Football, signing out.